I know. I'm not supposed to make another video, but this kind of just hit me while I was watching other videos, so I figured I better go ahead and do this while it's still fresh on my mind. So I made a video about being kicked out of adult videos about adult sites and things on Facebook. Well, a few months ago, which basically was last year, I was in a group on Kick, and I got kicked out of that. No, and even though they invited me back, I decided to take the better part of discretion and leave the group because apparently I offended a young lady who was of Japanese descent by proving to her that Batman was not only the Green Lantern once, but twice. Not just in the Brave and the Bold, but in a whole different DC universe that he was actually the Green Lantern. He was still Batman, but he was the Green Lantern. And she didn't believe me. And at 44 years old, I don't always make shit up, especially when it comes to comic books. Now, I have read thousands of comic books in the time that I've been alive because those have been the only friends I've ever fucking really had. See the Ninja Turtle shirt? And you know, people like me, the enigmas in the world, who don't make friends easy or don't keep friends, and the harder we try to keep friends, the easier it is we fuck up. So, since I made that video about being kicked out of Facebook, I figured I'd make this video about being kicked out of Kik, K-I-K. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know, I'm not that big of an asshole. And I'm fairly decent to get along with because I'm an honest person. And I'd much rather you tell me the truth to my face than to lie to me. Sorry, I had to make sure the lights were still on so that people would know I'm recording. I had to make sure that, that I get this out. Because, you know, we're all adults. If you're over 17, and I know some 16-year-olds, back when I was 16, it was more adults than adults because I happen to be one of those people who were more adults than adults. And, you know, if you're in your 20s, and let me state this specifically for people who read comic books, retcon. I just found out what that meant. So if you don't know what that meant, then you can't accuse me of being wrong when you're only 20 years old and I'm 24 years and some change older than you, and I have been reading comics since I was 3. So back in like 70 something, whenever I turned 3, the first comic book I ever had was a DC comic book character named Jonah Hex, who I think went out in the late 80s and came back in the mid 90s as a space cowboy. By then, I was so into Marvel that I only read like maybe 4 DC titles, at least until Lobo came out. And I didn't really read Lobo. I read his book, but I never bought it because I didn't want to get too attached to him. And then when they had the Marvel versus DC clashing comics, then I would buy them and I would do research on the characters before I go buy the whole brawl thing. And hopefully they'll make those into trade so I can have them all at one point at one time. But anyway, so after I've learned how to read, I got into Spider-Man. Once I got into Spider-Man, if it had not been for Spider-Man, I would have never found the X-Men. And once I found the X-Men, that was it. Once I found the New Warriors and Silver Sable, that was it. And all of them have a link to Spider-Man. So, you know, if it hadn't been for Spider-Man, I never learned how to read, like really, really read. And had it been not for Jonah Hex, I wouldn't learn how to read at all. And, you know, so thank you to those guys that created Jonah Hex. And thank you to Stan Lee and Ditka for and Kirby for Spider-Man, you know. But to be kicked out of these groups, especially ones with comic books, where everything that I know has been retconned, and I'm probably not saying it right, but anyway, everything I know from the 70s, 80s, 90s, into the early 2000s, none of that shit exists. So it doesn't make me wrong, it just means that your comic knowledge is the here and now, and my shit is the present. I mean the past, not the golden age, but after the golden age. No, not the golden age because that was before I was born. So anything happened in the golden age of Guy Garrick or Jay Garrick and Alan Green, I think, was the first Green Lantern who wasn't really from the Lantern Corps. He was just a Green Lantern. I forgot how he got his powers. Yeah, I don't even remember what the hell his powers were. But, you know, anything with those guys, I have no clue about. But the X-Men came out in 63. I was born in 73. So by the time I was 10, I was just getting into to the X-Men because I didn't know when they came out until I got into my 20s. Like, damn, the X-Men's only 10 years older than I am, you know? So I'm 10 years behind, and I always will be. And now I'm like maybe 20-something years behind because I haven't picked up a comic book since 2010. So, and the reason was because of the big clusterfuck with Scarlet Witch screwing up the 616, and I think they fixed it, but they didn't fix it back to the way I was liking it, so I just didn't pick anything up. I still support the X-Men. I still love the cartoons. I'll catch up every now and again, but anything after 2010, I don't want to read. I don't care. And then with the clusterfuck that was happening with the comic movies, with Marvel and Fox and all these other, I just want to see my heroes on screen. I don't give a fuck. And for those who don't care, or who didn't like Justice League, I actually liked Justice League. I thought it was pretty good, just like I thought Batman vs. Superman was good. And I'm probably one of 3 people in the universe that actually liked it. And Jason Momoa held it down. My man. Anyway, he made Aquaman cool again. Okay? For those who don't know, Aquaman has had some issues and some changes. And no, I'm not getting off topic. I'm getting right back on topic right now. I got kicked out of this group because apparently I pissed off one specific person who's like the jewel of the group or whatever, and I wasn't wrong, and I went through all these things like I thank you Roya the Destroyer, because going to find her led me to the dude in the video that I posted up on Kick to prove to her that Batman was also the Green Lantern, and not just in The Brave and the Bold, which the dude proved. Then she said something smart to me for doing it. But I don't like being called a liar, and I'm not a liar. So it ate me up. So then I managed to wind up getting kicked out of the group. Then another person invited me back. She was a very polite person, and I respectfully declined. I said, ma'am, I can't come back to your group. I don't want to be anywhere where I'm not wanted. It's like, well, this is that. And I'm like, no, I really don't want to come back because, it's simple that I'm in my 40s, and clearly all of y'all are in your 20s. And certain people in your group don't have respect for old people who have been reading comics before they came out of Sperm City. And I would rather be in a group by myself and just talk to myself than talk to people who are just going to put me down, insult me, and tell me that I'm wrong when I know damn well that I'm right. And I have to go and prove it so people won't think that I'm some kind of fucking liar. And I just don't have time for that. I'm 44 years old. I'm grown. And the grown thing to do is just to not go back into the group. And even though the one person wanted me, that's like 40 other people in the group that don't want me there. So one person can't really make a difference, and one person can make a difference. And the difference is that, I've just chosen it's better that I just don't go back to the group. I'm not the type of person who would ever force someone to go somewhere or be somewhere where they didn't want to be. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I do martial arts. I would never tell my friends, hey, look, you some bitches, y'all are going with me to this martial art tournament, and you're going to sit here for the whole 2 hours and watch it, and you're going to like it, or you're not going to be my friend. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that's like this. I'm going to a martial art tournament. I'm not in it, but I'm going to watch it. You're not into martial arts. I don't have the right to make you go somewhere you don't want to go just because our friendship's involved. That's not how friends work. Friends are supposed to support you whether they like your stuff or not. But you don't have the right to make your friends go somewhere that they don't want to go. That's just the way I view shit. And if you think I'm wrong, hey, that's fine. It's your opinion. But that's how I feel, because it's kind of like having sex with a girl. It would behoove you to know that she's actually going to consent before you get the condom on. It would also behoove you to know that after you get the condom on, and before you stick the tip of your penis inside of her vagina, that she still has the right to say no. And if you happen to stick your tip in, and she says, no, I changed my mind, you need to just take your dick on out, take off the condom, and go the fuck home. Yeah, you're going to be pissed off. She's going to want you to stay, even though she just, totally destroyed your world. And you just got to be honest. Look, you just pissed me off. I'm not trying to be an asshole about it, but, you said we're going to have sex, and then you changed your mind. I respect that. I'm mad as fuck about it, and I'm going the fuck home. So that's kind of how I feel about the group. It's like, the tip of my penis was in, and then the girl said no. So I had to pull out, take my ball, and go home. And then the girl wants me to stay and cuddle, but she don't want to put clothes on. So it's kind of like that. And that's kind of why I felt like, it's probably a good thing for me to just not go back to the group. That was like the roughest, badass analogy that I could give. But I'm getting real tired of getting kicked out of groups. Especially groups that say, okay, here's what you need. You need to respect other people. You need to be nice. You need to play fair. And you can voice your opinion, but you have to do it in a respectful and peaceful manner. So, how come it was okay for me to prove that I was right and I was being respectful? I never called her out of her name. I never did anything disrespectful. And I still got kicked out of the group. And like I said, it's the same bullshit that happens to me on Facebook for all these adult groups. And I'm like, I'm not that big of a fucking douchebag full of dick tips that you can't tell me what not to say. Because if you tell me what not to say, then I'm not going to say it. Because it's just common damn sense to not say what I'm not supposed to say. You don't want me talking about comic books and a sex thing? Cool. You don't want me talking about God or video games and a sex site? Cool. You need to say that. You need to lay down the goddamn ground rules other than everybody play nice, flash pictures of your dick and your tits, and we're going to call it a day. Because, someone might have asked me, what do I do to pass time? And I would tell them. And it's the same thing. This is why I also started the image thing on Kick, which no one has come in to talk to me about. Wildcats, Stormwatch, Youngbloods, Respawn. I'm just in that group all by my damn self. Same thing with Dark Horse. No one's like responding to Dark Horse because we're asking them about Next Men and stuff like that. And I said Next Men, N-E-X-T, Next Men. And that was a pretty good comic too. It even had boobs in it. But anyway, and no one's asking me about that. No one's asking me about Ultra Force, which is not a Dark Horse comic. But and I like, if you're not gonna talk about the subject matter in there, and other people are gonna ask you questions that are like out of left field, and they expect you to answer it, why does it always get me kicked out of the group but no one else? And then there's just this one guy who keeps joining these groups also, and I guess he's stalking me or whatever, because he's probably the one that's constantly removing me from these groups. But it has anonymous on it, and say you have been anonymously removed from these groups in Facebook and in Kick. It was straight up I was removed from the group. I'm pretty sure it was a little Asian chick from Japan that removed me over the Batman thing. So I just never came back. And for the groups that kick me out on Facebook, I'm just not going to come back. I mean, if you're not going to set down the ground rules of what I can't say, then how am I not to get in trouble if I don't know what I can't say? You understand? Okay. I'm James Williams. Cover number 2. Be seeing.